What's the deal, y'all? What's the deal, y'all? What's the deal, y'all? Back in this thing, back in this thing. Like, cook, crack in this thing. Like, comment, subscribe, like, comment, subscribe, like, comment, and make sure you hit that good subscribe button. For more of this good content, y'all know what we got going on here at TNN Trap News Network. TNN Trap News Network. Good news you can use. Good knowledge you can't get in nobody's college, big dog. Make sure you hit that like, comment, subscribe button. Early in the morning, man, tap in with that tap in. We here at TNN Clap Trap News Network. Clap, clap, clap. Because when a nigga driving, it's hard to do the clap, you feel me? It's hard to do the clap when you're driving. Anyway, we back early in the morning, man, with this Young and Hefe style video. Big shout out to Young and Hefe. Don't care about nothing but what the checks say, man. We out giving y'all this good news you can use early in the morning. We got some paperwork, man. Somebody has finally taken a plea in that big Rico. Somebody ready to go home. Somebody said, you know what? This is too much for me, man. So I'm finna give y'all this news y'all can use now you can't get in college by way of Seti Nash. Big love to my homie Seti Nash. Make sure you show love to bro. Finish jump into this content without further do's or don'ts. Let's get into it. Let's go.
Everybody reacting on YouTube, Clubhouse, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever it is. I did the work so you don't have to. Let me show you why this video is highly important. Take a look at these 3 dockets, and I'm going to tell you, pay attention to the numbers. But if you forget, I'll bring you along. Check this out. So in the highlighted section of this, right, you have USA versus Mitchell. This is Brick Baby. On the bottom part right there, I want y'all to say 00576, right? Big U's. 00576. Because y'all know Big U as Henley Jr. Are y'all catching a theme real quick? 00576? Well, if you haven't, show you the first person to plead out. 00576 right there on the right hand corner. Christian Forbes, aka Bus. Why is that important? Well, there you go right there. Bottom right corner, second one. Christian Forbes, aka Bus. Now I know what y'all wondering. Seti Nash, why in the world is this important? Well, he was the first one to plea out. Let's get further into it. So Christian Forbes, aka Bus, is essentially a codee for Big U and Brick Baby. Or he just got picked up. What he is known as far as his indictment, I don't know him, I ain't never met him, don't want to meet him. He's known essentially as a gun runner. And since he's a gun runner, it gets interesting. I did the heavy lifting so y'all don't have to. So the YouTube reactions, the TikTok reactions, the Twitter reaction, aka X, the Instagram's reaction, the Clubhouse people and all that. I've done the hard work for you so that you don't have to. He's not in the paperwork, and the guns that he allegedly had are in nobody's paperwork. Now, some of y'all are going to say, well, you know, Seti Nash, he might snitch, he might whatever. The problem with snitching, I want y'all to understand this, is when they snitch, they don't have deals already set up. Goes against everything. But he is the first one to plead out as far as the whole entire Rico, whose name is brought up. So I'm not going to put a snitch jacket on him without any freaking proof. Just like y'all try to put that on Brick. As far as you can tell in what we read, Brick has a public defender who doesn't have enough time to review the case. Brick can literally get an appeal and say, hey, y'all sent me up the river with this lawyer who did not have enough time to review my case. You have literally screwed me over. And that is grounds for an appeal because that's not effective counsel. But as far as Bus goes, the guns that he is alleged to have sold, not on anybody's paperwork. I think when they did they Big U Rico, because it's not a rolling 60s indictment, they just snatched up whoever they needed to snatch up, and certain people were just in the crosshairs. So, without no further ado, let's get into Christian Forbes, aka Bus paperwork, because a lot of people think that he's snitching on people, but he already has 5 years already. So who can he tell on? Because they wait for sentencing to see how good of a person you are. Now, automatic snitching in the feds, you get 33% of your time knocked off. So we will see. But other than that, let's get into it. I don't need to snap. Let's go. Man. And y'all want to get on Brick and say Brick is all type of things with no proof. So, I'm going to show y'all something real quick. If y'all don't know who Christian Forbes is, Christian Forbes' name is Bus. If you look right here, Bus just took a plea agreement for defendant Christian Forbes. All right? Y'all know how we do, man. It just is what it is. So, sit back, relax. I got y'all. And, yeah. This constitutes the plea agreement between Christian Forbes, also known as Bus Defendant, and the United States Attorney Office for the Central District of California, the USAO, in the above captioned case. This agreement is limited to the USAO and cannot bind any other federal, state, local, or foreign prosecuting, enforcement, administrative, or regulatory authorities. Defendant's obligations, meaning this is what the man has to do. Defendant agrees to, at the earliest opportunity, requested by the USAO and provided by the court, appear and plead guilty to the single count indictment in United States versus Christian Forbes. All right, with charges, defendant with engaging in the business of dealing firearms without a license in violation of 18 USC 922A1A. No contest facts agreed to in this agreement. Abide by all agreements regarding sentencing contained in this agreement. Appear for all court appearances. Surrender as ordered for service of sentence. Obey all conditions of any bond and obey any other ongoing court order in this matter. Not commit any crime. However, offenses that would be excluded from sentencing purposes under United States Sentencing Guidelines, USSG, or Sentencing Guidelines 4A12C are not within the scope of this agreement. Be truthful at all times with the United States Probation and Pretrial Services Office and the court. Pay the applicable special assessment at or before the time of sentencing unless defendant has demonstrated a lack of ability to pay such assessments. Defendant further agrees to the abandonment to the United States of any interest of the defendant in the following firearms, ammunition, and accessories seized by law enforcement on or about March 23, 2022. Glock Model 48 9mm caliber semi-automatic pistol bearing serial number BKNC051 and its gun case. 38 special revolver bearing no serial number, commonly referred to as a ghost gun, approximately 130 rounds of ammunition, 4 firearms, collectively the seized assets, to acknowledge that he is the sole owner of the seized assets and that no other person or entity has an interest in the seized assets. To complete any legal documents, including but not limited to an ATF Form 3401, abandonment, required for the transfer of title to title of the seized assets to the United States. Sorry for that mess up. The USAO's obligations. The USAO agrees to no contest facts agreed to in this agreement. Abide by all agreements regarding sentences contained in this agreement. At the time of sentencing, provide the defendant demonstrates an acceptance of responsibility for the offense up to and including the time of sentencing. Recommend a 2-level reduction in the applicable sentence guidelines offense level pursuant to USSG 3E11 and recommend, and if necessary, move for an additional 1-level reduction if available under that section. Nature of the offense.
Now, I want to take some time to point out a few things real quick outside of the fact that obviously I need a haircut, but I'm going to get one. Don't worry about it. I'm grinding. I'm working on something. Don't worry about what I got going on. I got something going on. Just know I got something going. Y'all know about it in a couple weeks. Don't worry about it. Just know I'm working on something. Anyway, he's not snitching. The paperwork does not say that he's snitching. The paperwork does not say that he's telling. The paperwork does not say that he's cooperating or nothing like that. It just says that he took a plea deal. Said that, you know, some situations came across. It's not necessarily a rolling 60, Rico. So it's not, you're not being charged with being a member of this criminal organization or this fraternity or whatever, you know, you want to call it, however it's being classified. He's charged with unlawful sales of pow pows. You know what I'm saying? He was out there selling the pew pews and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, he got caught with some ghost guns, little Gleazy, little ghost 38. I think it was a 38. They said 380, maybe it was a 38. I think it was 380. That was a ghost gun. I'm not sure. One of them. But he's getting 5 years. You know what I'm saying? And that's the typical time for the crime that he's committed. He's not getting it doesn't look like he's getting any time off for snitching or anything like that. It just looks like he took a plea. Like everybody else was trying to take it to court. The case on him wasn't the strongest. And he was like, you know, let me just go ahead and take the time that y'all offering. I don't got to take y'all to court. I don't got to take y'all to trial. I don't got to fight the situation. I don't got to potentially make my situation worse. Let me just go ahead and take what's being presented to me by the U.S. government. You know what I'm saying? I can't even say by the state, by the feds, for real at this point. But yeah, man, he said he's not just not trying to take it to trial. Again, doesn't mean that anybody's telling, doesn't mean that anybody is working with law enforcement. It just means that he's not willing to go through the entire song and dance of going through the entire court proceeding. Let me see what else was there. Yeah, so he didn't get the 30% off for the feds. He has a single count of selling a blower. And yeah, he got caught with the ghost guns. And he got to take credit for it. That was another stipulation. Hey, Ninja, you going to make sure that you taking credit for this, not somebody else, not your homie, not your brother, your cousin, your sister, auntie, uncle. You're taking credit for these blowers. So that's that. But let's get back into this consultation. Why I'm thinking about a consultation. Let's get back into this contiana.
USSG 3E11 and recommend, and if necessary, move for an additional 1 level reduction if available under that section. Nature of the offense. Defendant understands that for defendant to be guilty of the crime charged in count 1, that is, engaging in the business of dealing firearms without a license in violation of Title 18, United States Code Section 922A1A, the following must be true. First, defendant will willfully engage in a business of dealing in firearms within the dates specified in the indictment. And second, defendant did not have a license as a firearms dealer. Defendant understands that the statutory maximum sentence that the court can impose for a violation of Title 18, United States Code Section 922A1A is 5 years imprisonment, 3 years period of supervised release, a fine of $250,000 or twice the gross gain or gross loss resulting from the offense, whichever is greatest, and a mandatory special assessment of $100. Oh, wow. Defendant understands that supervised release is a period of time following imprisonment during which defendant will be subject to various restrictions and requirements. Defendant understands that if defendant violates one or more of the conditions of any supervised release imposed, defendant may be returned to prison for all or part of the term of supervised release authorized by statute for the offense that resulted in the term of supervised release, which could result in defendant serving a total term of imprisonment greater than the statutory maximum stated above. Defendant understands that by pleading guilty, defendant may be giving up valuable government benefits and valuable civic rights such as the right to vote, the right to possess a firearm, the right to hold office, and the right to serve on a jury. Defendant understands that he is pleading guilty to a felony and that it is a federal crime for a convicted felon to possess a firearm or ammunition. Defendant understands that conviction in this case may also subject defendant to various other collateral consequences, including but not limited to revocation of probation, parole, or supervised release. In another case, is suspension or revocation of a professional license. Defendant understands that unanticipated collateral consequences will not serve as grounds to withdraw defendant's guilty plea. Defendant and his counsel have discussed the fact that, and defendant understands that if defendant is not a United States citizen, the conviction in this case makes it practically inevitable and virtually certainly that defendant will be removed or deported from the United States. Defendant may also be denied United States citizenship and admission to the United States in the future. I don't even care about all that. Let's go to factual basis because all that stuff is not even necessary. Factual basis. Defendant admits that defendant is in fact guilty of the offense to which defendant is agreeing to plead guilty. Defendant and the USAO agreed to the statement of facts provided below and agreed that this statement of facts is sufficient to support a plea of guilty to charge described in this agreement and to establish the sentencing guidelines factors set forth. So here we go right here. In or around January 2022, defendant offered to sell a pistol to an individual he believed to be a potential firearms purchaser. On January 5th, 2022, defendant sold the supposed purchaser a Smith & Wesson model M&P 45 caliber semi-automatic pistol bearing serial number DTA 9701 in exchange for $1,200 on January 12, 2022. Defendant similarly sold a Bersa model 380 caliber, I don't know why I said that, semi-automatic pistol bearing serial number 149497 in exchange for $750. On February 2nd, 2022, defendant similarly sold a semi-automatic rifle ghost gun with a scope and of unknown caliber along with a 60-round drum magazine of PMAG, D60 ammunition, a 10-round PMAG, 10 magazine, and a black case laser attachment in exchange for $1,800. On March 10, 2020, defendant similarly sold a Taurus model G2S 9mm caliber semi-automatic pistol bearing serial number TLU2 0146 with 7 rounds of 9mm caliber ammunition in exchange for $1,250 on March 23rd, 2022 in Carson, California. Within the Central District of California, defendant possessed a Glock 9mm semi-automatic pistol and a .38 special revolver, various magazines and ammunition for each firearm, other caliber of ammunition, and a Glock gun box, all of which he possessed with the intent to sell. At the time, defendant sold and possessed with the intent to sell all the foregoing firearms. Defendant did not have a license as a firearms dealer. Defendant made all of the foregoing sales in Los Angeles County within the Central District of California. Sentencing factors. Defendant understands that in determining defendant's sentence, the court is required to calculate the applicable sentencing guidelines and to consider that range. Possible departures under sentencing guideline. We ain't really tripping on none of that. So it says basically he understands he has criminal history, waiver of constitutional rights. We don't care about that. Waiver of appeal of conviction, meaning basically, you have, I believe it's 30 days with the feds to appeal the decision. And they saying, no, we ain't finna do that. Understands with the exception of an appeal based on a claim that defendant's guilty plea was involuntary. By pleading guilty, defendant is waiving and giving up any right to appeal defendant's conviction on the offenses to which defendant is pleading guilty. Defendant understands that this waiver includes, but is not limited to, arguments that statute to which defendants pleading guilty is unconstitutional, and any and all claims that the statement of facts provided herein is insufficient to support defendant's guilty plea. Let's go ahead and skip past all this BS. So result or withdrawal. Guilty plea, don't care. Effective date of agreement. This agreement is effective upon signature and execution of all required certifications by defendant, defendant's counsel, and an assistant United States attorney. Breach of agreement. Basically, what do you do if you mess up? Office, not parties. Defendant understands that the court, United States, probation, and pretrial services are not parties to this. So, yeah, no additional agreements. So this right here, defendant understands, except as set forth herein, there are no promises, understandings, or agreements between the USAO and defendant or defendant's attorney, and that no additional promise, understanding, or agreement may be entered into unless in writing, signed by all parties, or on the record in court. So that's pretty much it for right there. Then you got the certification of the defendant, certification of the defendant's attorneys. So what we didn't see is essentially him agreeing to testify. Now, somebody could say, well, Bus basically sold Brick the gun, and then he admitted that he was a gun seller. So, I mean, if you want to do it that way, I guess you can. But as far as I'm concerned, he basically said, I sold guns and I sold these guns. Now, they can say, they can double back and say, well, we know for sure that he bought this gun from this person. But once again, I don't see anywhere where it says that. So even on the sentencing, right, it doesn't say, we're going to push it back. They already basically said you're getting 5 years. Typically, when somebody is testifying or going to testify, they get held back, right? So you see the sentencing factors right here. Defendant in the USAO agrees to the following based on level 12, 3 to 7 firearms plus 2, variance -2, defendant. See the rights, the argue additional specific offenses, characteristic adjustment. So you don't see any of that. They wouldn't put all of that in there. Now, somebody may take this and go, oh, Seti Nash, nah, bro. He's telling. I'm going to be fair. If he was going to tell, it would be in there.
Now, that's tricky, man. So, Bus is being charged with the unlicensed selling of a firearm. They caught him with that, selling in powers. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get to how that's related to Brick Baby last. He's offered parole. You're going to do your time, and then you're going to get off on parole. When you get off on parole, you're going to be closely monitored. If you up that parole, you're going to do the time that they want you to finish in the penitentiary and the time for the new sentence. So when they said that you might end up with more than the maximum, is because you're going to finish that, they're going to max you out, and then they're going to give you the time for the new charge. So if you, for example, you take a piece of bubble gum, and that piece of bubble gum hold 5 days in the county Wooty Bam or the federal Wooty Bam as a result of you violating this federal parole, and it can be something as simple as stealing a piece of bubble gum that can violate your federal parole. You finna do every second of that time that they wanted you to do, and you finna get maxed out for that bubble gum. So just be careful when you are here stealing, man. They got him as a felon with a firearm. Something that was interesting that has no relation, but just kind of fact that Seti Nash pointed out, if he was an illegal, 100% would have sent him back over the fence. For sure. They made that very clear. If he was illegal and didn't have citizenship, you're out of here for sure. He sold the poop house to the undercover. And here's the part that's interesting. He sold the poop house to Brick Baby. Now, he hasn't snitched on anybody. He hasn't testified on anybody. He just has his deal. He working on his way to go home and all that kind of stuff. But the interesting part about all this is, if he would have been telling on Brick, like he said, it would have been in the paperwork. That's the person who sold Brick the Poop House. He's admitting to selling the Poop House, but he's not admitting to selling anyone specifically Poop House. So I guess, like he said, one can put all that together and all that, but that's the reach, bro, because again, it's simple. He just took a plea. Hey man, let me get a deal. Sound like he got a lawyer. Sound like he's not working with public defense. It sounds like he's working with a paid lawyer. And the paid lawyer did what the paid lawyer is supposed to do, get him out the situation. So y'all know the deal, man. It's Rich Shepard signing out. Y'all know the deal, man. Be better today than what you were yesterday. Be even better tomorrow. Red dots to the left. Y'all know the rest. Free Avenue Angel until he's free. No, be better today than what you were yesterday. Be even better tomorrow. And today be at your best. Red dots to the left. You know the rest. Free Avenue Angel until he's free. We gone.